Long time no see. Long time no see. Long time no see.
Long, 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 long,
Long time no see.
long, 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 long,
Long time no see. Long time no see.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Talk Vietnam. You've just seen an extract of a triple bill contemporary dance performance. The dance performance was organized and choreographed by Candoco, a UK dance company. This is special because they are the first dance company in the UK to integrate disabled and non-disabled dancers. And in the 2008 Olympics and Paralympics, they had a chance to perform in the stage. And it was the first time in the two games' history that both non-disabled dancers and disabled dancers were recognized. And we're so happy to have them in our studio today as part of their Vietnam tour because they're going to be talking to us a little bit about their unique dancing style, their unique values, as well as how they've enjoyed Vietnam. So our first guest from the company is actually Pedro Machado. And he's a co-artistic director, and he's the soul behind the group's creativity, and he's been with the group for 6 years now. So let's first start talking to him. So, hi, how are you?
I'm good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Welcome to the show. It's a little bit cool
pleasure.
outside.
Yeah.
So, is there something special to the name of the company?
Yeah,
Candoco.
Yeah, it will be can do as in it's able to do, the company, as a way of saying everybody's able to do everything.
That's awesome. Now, is there a special philosophy within your company?
I think is that dance in itself, it's not intrinsically exclusive of people with different bodies. You know, dance is welcome to people with different bodies. In a way, the way we perceive dance today to be seems a little bit exclusive, and the tradition, the history made it a bit exclusive. But there's nothing about dance that needs a homogenized body. And we also believe in Candoco that if we, in creating a space that welcomes people to be themselves and to volunteer something of themselves, and if we create this, then beautiful things happen because everybody wants to contribute something good for the company.
Right. And how do you describe the company's artistic style?
We like to have a varied repertoire, so we commission different choreographers to make work, and we like choreographers who have a very distinct voice and who maybe bring a little bit more understanding about the potential of dance, what is that dance can make. So people who are quite clever and quite progressive in their thinking. But we also like to have pieces that present the dancers, because the dancers are the continuum. This is the constant of the repertoire. So I look for choreographers that will show the skills of the dancers, but also show the dancers as artists, who they are. We want work that engages with people, that moves people. Maybe that's a bit funny. You know, maybe we have a bit of a dark humor sometimes, but we like work that is engaging.
Really?
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about dark humors.
Yeah.
Tell us a few examples about how dark humor manifests itself in dance.
Yeah, just being a bit provocative or get people to think about things differently, not take yourself so seriously.
Tell me, why is Candoco unique?
I think because of our commitment to quality from a very early stage. So in one way, what makes us unique now is that we have 22 years of very high professional history and being very ambitious. Also, what makes us unique is the talent of our dancers. They really want something for themselves. They also believe in what the company does, and they are very dedicated. We have a very dedicated team in the office. And I think also what makes us unique is that we are, maybe not unique, but one thing that distinguishes us from many other companies is that we are prepared to take risks. We like risks. And so it's something that we are always inviting to the company, how to push what we do further and not just rest into what we know.
Founded in 1991, Candoco grew quickly into the first company of its kind in the UK, a professional contemporary dance company focused on the integration of disabled and non-disabled dancers. In 2008, Candoco took part in the handover ceremonies at the Beijing Olympics and the Paralympic Games, representing Britain. It was the first time disabled artists were present in both the events in the history of the Games. The company also performed at both the opening and closing ceremonies of the 2012 Summer Paralympics in London. Candoco has toured to over 50 countries, visiting Europe, Australia, North and South America, Asia, and Africa. Its performances in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City are one important event to kick off the Great British Week in Vietnam, celebrating the 40th anniversary of Vietnam and UK diplomatic relations, and the 20th anniversary of British Council's presence in Vietnam. So let's talk about some of the biggest challenges that Candoco has faced over 20 years of work.
So, I mean, at the moment, there's the obvious financial challenge. That's difficult, especially in a moment that we are so ready to expand and, things, especially in Europe, are difficult financially. I think there is also a challenge at the moment, which is the relationship that we have with live work, because live work demands a level of commitment. You need to leave your house, you need to pay some money, you need to sit there for 2 hours and focus on one thing, and whereas you can just have like 30 seconds of something on your phone.
Right.
But I believe a lot in live work. I think it's a great experience, and especially in the way that we are such a consumerist society that we just want to buy things. So actually, just go and have an experience. That's a great thing to do. So that's a challenge, I think, but also interesting that we have to decide what is this new contract that we have with the audience. So what are the terms of this engagement?
Exactly.
Another challenge is how to find talented disabled dancers with experience, because there are very few opportunities out there for disabled dancers to train and to work. And as I said, we're very demanding, so when they come to us, they need to have experience already. And that's something that we try to address by providing lots of channels for people to train and work.
So Candoco has performed as part of the closing ceremonies of the Summer Paralympics 2012 in London. And you've performed in front of an audience of over 7 million people.
Yeah, through TV, of course. Yeah.
So how did this experience change you or brought your message across to a lot of people?
I think it was a great moment. We were in China 4 years previously, and in the Bird's Nest Stadium in front of 90,000 people live, which was quite amazing. I think the major thing was first to be part of such a great event, to be representing our country in that way was great. But also we realized how some people kind of knew about us and talked about us. Maybe they hadn't even seen us live. When it finally got announced that we were going to be part of the closing Paralympics with Coldplay and all that, there are lots of people in social media saying, of course Candoco had to be there, of course Candoco had to be there. We didn't know we were going to be there until 2 weeks before almost. So we realized that how people, they recognize that we deserve that. So that was very positive, I think.
And also they recognize, how much it will mean to a lot of other people if you're there.
Yeah. I mean, in China, when we took part in the closing of the Olympics, and it was the first time that a disabled participant had taken part in the close of the Olympics. I think until then there was a lot of segregation, I think.
Mm-hmm. The grand performance in Hanoi was opened by a group of very, very special people. They included 4 people from the Nghị lực sống, or the Will to Live Center, as well as artists from the Hanoi Youth Theater. So let's see what they have in store for us. Because the show was actually choreographed a few days right before the performance itself.
This opening piece, also termed the choreographic residence, is an idea initiated by Candoco as they tour the world. It creates an opportunity to bring change in the perception of and association with disability. A few days prior to that, 4 people from the Will to Live Center and 8 artists from Hanoi Youth Theater teamed up in Life Arts Center to prepare for a special collaboration. For 10 days, the dancers and trainer from Candoco have been throwing lots of different tasks at them as choreographers, getting them to work with each other in different ways, see how they move in the space during different tasks, and through a week finalize or refine it into a piece of dance.
Part of our job is to make sure that everyone finds an individuality. So it's not about saying, you are a bit more different than the other, so you're a bit more individual. It's very much about, we all have a difference. That's the work of the company. We all have a difference, and we try to develop that difference to make unique people. And I think everyone here has found a voice in what they are doing.
For Do Trung Nga and Dang Hoài too, this was something they've never done before, and a short course has revealed something special about them.
Trước khi tới với khóa học thì tôi chưa biết gì về múa. Và tôi nghĩ là múa là một cái gì đó rất là khó. Những người kém may mắn như bọn tôi chắc không bao giờ nghĩ tới. Nhưng mà sau khi tới lớp học, được thầy cô làm quen, lúc bước đầu thì cũng bỡ ngỡ lắm, cũng ngại, cũng rụt rè. Nhưng sau 7 buổi, hôm nay đến buổi thứ 8 thì cũng không còn rụt rè nữa, cảm thấy thích thú, cảm thấy hăng say và chỉ muốn đến giờ thôi ạ.
Tôi cảm thấy nó thoải mái cho người hơn. Mình có thể là làm những cái gì mình thích, nó không gò bó trong một khuôn khổ. Ví dụ như là múa dân gian hay là cái gì đấy thì nó phải theo một cái động tác nhất định. Nhưng mà ở đây thì mình có thể làm bất cứ cái gì mình thích, miễn là mình cảm thấy thoải mái. Khi mà biểu diễn solo ấy, tôi cảm giác như là mình muốn bay lên, cảm giác như thế. Mình muốn thoát khỏi cái rào cản của mình, thoát khỏi cái bóng của mình là một người như thế này.
One thing I know for sure, that the teachers experienced the same feeling when they found out about Candoco, a comedy of can-do people.
My disability does not stop me overcoming anything. It does not limit me. What I need to do is find a way that I can do it with my physicality and also my personality. Everybody's different, and that is the same for every dancer in our company, whether they are disabled or a non-disabled dancer in the company. Everybody has to work and push themselves.
After more than a week of working hard, it's time for them to show their piece to the audience at the Hanoi Opera House.
Đầu tiên tôi biểu diễn ở nhà hát lớn ạ. Mới biểu diễn xong bây giờ vẫn còn thấy run ạ.
Đến giờ tôi vẫn còn rất hồi hộp. Cảm giác như là mình cảm thấy choáng ngợp trước cái không gian rộng lớn và những khán giả đang nhìn mình. Tôi hy vọng là tôi sẽ có những cái cơ hội như thế này để có thể tiếp tục thể hiện mình như thế.
Mình dám mơ hơn, mình nghĩ là mình cũng có thể là một nghệ sĩ múa chẳng hạn. Mai kia biết đâu mình cũng trở thành một nghệ sĩ múa như thầy cô chẳng hạn.
Our next guest is Kate Marsh, Candoco's associated trainer, and she's the one that's been working a lot with the Vietnamese artists in the workshop you've just seen. So Kate, after 1 week working with the artists in the Life Arts Center, what are some of your first impressions?
All very good. They've really impressed me. They've worked extremely hard. In practical terms, the work ethic is fantastic. that they have been consistently hardworking and always ready with creative ideas. So I've been very impressed. It's been a pleasure to work with them.
Petro, let's talk about your grand performance in Hanoi. It was opened by a piece which is termed the Choreographic Residence, and this is one of the pieces that aim to kind of change the way people view disability in dance. Now, let's talk more about that.
But the choreographic residency is the project that Kate has been leading, and is when dancers from Candoco work, or artists from Candoco work with local artists. And that was shown on the stage of the Opera House before our performances, so we're sharing the theater together. And it's a great way to really have an artistic interaction with people in Vietnam. Maybe you want to say a little bit about the work itself, how it came about, or what it deals with?
I think perhaps the most important point about the work is the process is a collaboration. So we didn't go in and tell the dancers and the artists how to move or what to do. We used several different tasks and exercises to encourage them to create the material, which was then moulded by Vicky Malin and Andrew Graham, who are dancers in the company. And they used that material to choreograph the overall piece. So it was a real collaboration between the dancers and the two choreographers.
Now, talking about good work, your company has a motto. It's learning and development, and it sits alongside performance and creativity. So both are really equally important and support each other. So tell us a little bit more about this motto.
Well, from my perspective, that really ties into what draws me to the company. And I think Pedro mentioned earlier, I feel that the performances will always engage with people and draw people in and inspire people in a particular way. There's something, however, that I find so exciting about the legacy that can be created through participation and learning. So that, and we're very lucky on this residency that not only will the company perform their really inspiring programme, but I also feel that we're leaving something behind with the Vietnamese participants who I really hope will want to carry on. So in that sense, I think it's really important that those two aspects of dance generally sit together. I think they benefit each other mutually.
Pedro, do you have anything to say about that motto?
Yeah, I think that is important that we understand that they both have the same value. That you know, the creativity, maybe it's the most visible one, it's the most public one. So it's the show on stage, the leading choreographers who make work. But that will feed the kind of the learn and the educational program. But the learn and the educational program also feeds the creation. You know, we consider ourselves to be a learning company. We're always learning. We're always deciding how can we do things better or in a different way. And partly because we are aware that there isn't a path in front of us. We're making our own path, and there isn't a formula. So it's a constant learning, and I think that attracts people who are very curious and very open and generous, and that's what I think the company is about.
11 Candoco artists came to Vietnam this time to showcase a triple bill contemporary dance performance titled 3 Acts of Play at the Hanoi Opera House. Let's enjoy.
Stage 1. Wind felt on face. Leaves rustle and wind vanes move. Stage 2. Leaves and twigs in motion. Wind extends light flag, raises dust, loose paper, and moves small branches. Stage 3. Small leaves in tree begin to sway. Stage 4. Large branches in motion, whistling in telegraph wires.
difficulty with umbrellas. Stage 5. Whole trees in motion. The swaying of skyscrapers may be felt. Cars veer off-road. Stage 6. Slight structural damage occurs. Chimney pots and slates are blown off. Damage to circus tents and canopies. Stage 7. Widespread structural damage. Trees uprooted. Stage 8. Storm. An ice storm or a snowstorm. Dust. Yeah, you could have a dust storm. Perhaps you could have a desert storm. Or maybe even a perfect storm.
Our next guest today is Dan Du, Candoco's assistant creative producer. And he's also one of the dancers that's danced in the 3 acts of play that's being performed at the Hanoi Opera House. So let's talk to him right now. Dan, what's the message that you wanted to portray in the 3 acts of play this time?
Well, 3 acts of play is 3 short works by 3 different choreographers. And I guess there's no real specific message we're wanting to get across when we put together works, but it's more about showcasing what Candoco offers as a repertory company, how we can diversify as dancers and develop special skills needed to work with every choreographer we commission.
Yeah. So there are plays, one is the Tennessee Williams, one is the Shakespeare, and the other is not plays, like a play on a playful piece.
So that's where the name essentially came from. Having 3 acts of play and 3 different ways of playing.
Now, when doing such programs, how emotionally invested do you have to be in the character of the character that you were portraying?
Well, every time we perform, it takes a level of focus and I guess being ready to step on stage and to perform every work as though you're performing it for the very first time, because audiences, they're seeing it for the very first time, so it's our job as dancers to give them that.
Exactly, to give your all. Every time it's like the first time.
So every time is like the first time, at risk of sounding corny, but that's actually how I operate when I step on stage. And in that, even though you've performed work many times, you leave yourself open to discovering something new about the work or about yourself within the work. And so it does require a level of focus and having to learn different ways to get ourselves in, because we're having to perform 3 works over the course of an evening. So we have to develop ways ourselves that we can reach to that point to be able to get ready for the next piece and give it our all and to the highest professional standard.
Is there a certain message that from the piece that you want to send towards the Vietnamese audience?
as Dan was saying actually about Candoco's programme, there's no specific message. What I really hope people took away from the performance is to see that over a relatively short period of time of working in Vietnam, that actually a company was formed, a group of 12 people who can work really effectively together, creating very high quality, creative work. So I hope that's the message that came away.
And that everybody can also have their own message, their own interpretation of the piece as well.
Yes.
During the time in Vietnam, Candoco first took part in the International Dance Festival in Hanoi, Europe Meets Asia in Contemporary Dance, in which they performed in translation an intricate piece by Emmanuel Gatt, performed to a piano score by Johann Sebastian Bach.
think that's the key thing.
So let's recall a little bit about your relationship and your experiences within Candoco. You've talked a little bit about your tours worldwide, but are there any stories within the company that really, sticks to your heart? Any memories that's really dear to you?
There are many, I think, probably for all of us.
Anything that you're willing to share?
Well, I think seeing the company perform the first time, even before I knew I would work for the company, which I did, that was quite memorable. And then later when I realized that I was going to work with those people, that I had seen, that was quite remarkable.
Kate, you said you have a lot of memories.
Yeah, there are lots and lots of memories. I think, and I don't know what Dan would say, but I think the closing ceremony of the Paralympics was, for lots of reasons, it was a really important memory because it brought together old and new dancers from the company, and we all worked together, and it was very different artistically, very different from the work that lots of us had been involved in. And I think there were points where we were having makeup and because literally we're painted gold, which is quite rare in contemporary dance. And I think we'd all been quite jovial about, we're doing this, and because you didn't see the stage literally until we went on. So I remember very clearly that moment of 1 minute joking and then the next minute stepping into the stadium, which was just the biggest place that I've ever performed in, and that was fairly overwhelming in a really great way. So that's one I'll remember for a long time.
That's great. So let's talk to Pedro now. With a wealth of 20 years, of doing dance and creating art, what is Candoco's goal now at this moment in time, and how far is it in that goal?
So I think the last years we have been concentrating on supporting disabled artists to get more work and to get more training and to be able to pursue whatever they want to pursue. At the moment, we want to continue doing what we're doing and better, but I think the desire for the coming years is to try to have a real clear impact on the existing mainstream companies, to try to engage with companies to see if they would work more inclusively. And maybe if we don't work with established companies, we'll try to find then the next generation of artists to see if we actually start to change the way things are, because I really believe that there will be one day that there will be no difference, that dance will be like this. It might be 100 years from now. Maybe with Candoco will be 50 years from now, and I want it to be 10 years from now. So I think we want to really see this change happen, because we know it's exciting. The audience knows it's exciting. The artists, that we encounter enjoyed working this way. I met the extremely talented disabled artists who have a lot to give. So it's a matter of making it happen.
Now, to both Kate and Pedro, if you meet a Vietnamese disabled person who really loves to dance and who's been told many, many times that no, that's not something that you can do, or you just meet like a dancer who's gifted and given that wants to dance, what kind of advice do you give to these two types of people?
I have an anecdote that relates to that question from our Vietnamese participants who asked us today, what will we do next? Which is a great question, because it shows that they want to do something next. Exactly. And our response to them was, actually, it's down to you to take the experience and to, as Dan said, to work hard and push and actually knock on people's doors and ring people up. And there is that initial period where you perhaps have to push a bit harder to create opportunities, because it's often very simple the space that we've been working is potentially an available space for people to work. It's accessible practically, and there are already people popping up out of the workshops that we've led that could very happily and would be very able to carry on working together and leading things. So I think it's just actually about shouting about what you want to do a little bit.
Exactly.
And maybe also identify and find people who inspire you and do it together, because sometimes to start is difficult.
Exactly.
And maybe also that is the other advice, is start, because it's difficult, and then you can decide, you know, how you continue in a way, but don't give up.
Right. If there's a group in Vietnam that wants to, I would say, imitate your model, you know, of your dance company, what do you think they should start with?
They should, I think, find people in the dance world that have interesting ideas and hopefully work together. And as Katie said, look for partners and support. And they can always get in touch with us as well and just tell us that they're doing this, and if we can support them in any way, we will.
That's great. It's great to hear that. Yeah.
And I think also just finding a few friends and a room big enough to dance in, and then starting from there. And that would really be the simplest advice I could give. Was just start dancing and see what happens.
All right. Thank you so much, all of you, and for being on the show. And it's really great to hear those stories. You know, very inspirational, and I think it's going to help a lot of people in Vietnam out. So thank you so much for being on our show.
You.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right, and that's it for this edition of Talk Vietnam. Until next time, we'll see you again.